Well, let's just start with the Rocket City refugees. I
Okay.
think we'll touch on your career and kind of what has led you to this. But if you could, I'd like to just spend some time on first how you became involved, like interested, passionate about helping refugees. Maybe we start there, and
Okay.
then ultimately, how's that led to? You know what? I need to be a part of starting something here in Huntsville to help out this crisis. And this, I think it's Afghan specifically. Is that correct?
That's why we started. That's our primary focus. But
Okay.
we have on several occasions helped some Ukrainians and some other countries through churches in the area that were helping them as their conflict started. Our baseline requirement is that someone be, first of all, legally here in the United States, and then vetted on some level by the federal government, because a lot of us are in either law enforcement or the intelligence community actively.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to make sure that we're coloring with inside the lines, so to speak, and especially when it relates to national security stuff. We don't want to violate those laws and constitutional precepts that we hold dear,
Mm-hmm.
and that started us down this path. So if you ask me how did I become involved in Rocket City Refugees, I'll tell you it is the absolute last thing that I would have ever expected myself to have my name on.
Mm.
And to tell you that story, we'll have to go back to 2011.
Go ahead.
I went to Afghanistan as a civilian to lead a civilian counterintelligence team. I was originally supposed to stay up in Bagram at the air base there, but when I got there, there was no room at the inn, so to speak, and they sent me south to a town called Ghazni. It was in the kind of southeast-ish portion of the country, up in the mountains, living on a base with a bunch of Polish special forces, a few Americans, and Afghans, of course. So there had been a problem with the guard force, which were also used for other missions. So by day they're security guards, but they go out on patrols and other missions with some of the soft elements that were based there. And they had a problem, so they disbanded the old team and started building it back. And one of the jobs that I did there was screening local nationals who came on for employment, for suitability, make sure they weren't being controlled by the bad guys, and so on, make sure they were going to be a good hire. So a guy by the name of Zafrullah came in one day, and everybody there learned early on that if you say you were with special forces at some time in the past, that's kind of the golden ticket, right? Mm-hmm. So everybody would say that, and to him I said, okay, prove it. He said, well, I need a few days. I have to go home. He was from a different province, a good ways away towards the border with Pakistan, called Paktika. He said, I'll be back in 3 days. So he went back home, brought back a stack of certificates to me, and as I'm going through them, I recognized one of the names. The team sergeant, the E8 on a team that he had been with about 8 or so years earlier, was the junior engineer on a team that I was attached to back in the 90s at Fort Bragg. And so I reached out to him on one of the networks and explained what was going on. He said, oh, I know that guy, and everything he's telling you is true. He's probably not even telling you the whole truth, because he's very humble, but he's a good worker, and you can build the team around him. So we did. These are mostly ethnic Tajiks from eastern Afghanistan, again in Paktika, and there's kind of an allegory to the Israel conflict, because these guys are surrounded by people who just don't like them, and so they have become over the centuries very good fighters, and they're kind of the break glass in time of war guys. So when Alexander the Great came through, the Brits, the Russians, these people fought him back. So we built the team around them.